So hello and welcome everybody from wherever you are in the world. This is my next instalment, talking to wonderful people who are all working hard with their passions to hopefully make the world a better place. Today I've got the lovely Kerstin Andlaw with me. We met a little while ago, but I'll let Kerstin fill you in on all of that. Kerstin's an executive and life coach and a mindfulness facilitator. And it sounds like she's been on a bit of a journey to get to this point, and it sounds like her work's really making a powerful difference in the world of corporates and how they might impact the world to make it a better place. Huge opportunity there. So I'm going to hand over to Kerstin and just say hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's really good to be here.
Oh, well, I can't wait to hear all the things you're going to share. So for people that might not have heard of you before or come across any of your work, would you like just to give us a little rundown, your background? How did you get to this point in time? What's your journey been like?
Okay. So my background, God, if I think way back, then my background started in movement, and so I studied sport, and then I studied contemporary dance. This is what brought me to the UK. I'm originally from Germany, and from there on, I went into yoga teaching and became a senior yoga teacher. It was all about movement and that sense of being and well-being and connection and creating a good, wholesome, fulfilling life. Um, and that also led me then into mindfulness, which sort of blew up probably about 10 years ago. All the research around it really demonstrated the impacts of it. So I got really interested in that. So I went to Bangor University to study mindfulness. And so for some reason, I think I always keep on learning, and there's just so much to learn and develop, because we all take different things from different aspects. And I often say everything that I have learned and studied and the people I have worked with, the people I've come across, have really shaped the work I do. And so through this journey, I then got into coaching. That was really based on the idea of, well, how am I working with people? What is my relationship with that person? And how can I be very respectful to hold them capable, hold them as the whole person, that resourceful person that they are? And so this is sort of all coming together now. I haven't always worked in the corporate world. In fact, I've never worked, I haven't got a background in the corporate world. But my husband and a lot of friends and family work in that environment. And I became very aware of the stresses, the pressures, the responsibilities, and the potential impact that can have. So I got really curious about how can we support the people in a business to really create an environment that is conducive to people thriving, doing really well. Because when people do really well, they also feel good. So when we do well, we don't have to worry about feeling low, suffering from low moods, or even going further down the spectrum, depression or anxiety or anything like that. We maintain people's experience on that thriving side. Then that ripples out. It ripples out to their home life, their family, their children, their friends, and it also ripples down within an organization. So their direct reports, and some organizations, it even really impacts the way they do business and what the business is creating in the world. And that is really exciting to me.
Wow, yeah, it has the potential for huge positive impact, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So give us some examples of what you might do in terms of that kind of corporate executive coaching and how that might ripple out into the world.
Okay, so I mean, there's various ways that I support organizations, and it's anything from developing people. Um, we all have our KPIs and our appraisals every year, and people have their objectives. And instead of just giving them their objectives, is actually really supporting them to move up on those objectives and delivering on them in a way that feels very positive for them, and ensuring that some of those objectives are also driven by that individual. What is it that they want to do? What is the contribution that they can make to their job role, but also to the organization as a whole? And how will that impact them as a person, as a human being? So bringing all of those aspects together becomes very impactful. And it's sort of the same moving up the ranks, if there are ranks, because some organizations are very flat in terms of the more senior people, executives, CEOs, whereby they also have that added responsibility of all of these people and ensuring that they are well supported, that they have a progression path, that they can stay on that thriving side. With that comes the other side of the business, the stakeholders in the business, the customers or clients of the business. And who is this organization? And who are they? How do they do business? What is it all about? So on the more senior level, that really comes into play, and also their leadership style, of course. So it's just the dimensions are huge, and the ripple effects therefore are very far reaching, which I don't always get to see depending on the way I work with an organization. Some organizations I'm sort of more embedded in the work that they do, so I get to really see the changes and the progression. And other organizations I sort of come in working with an executive or a CEO or a manager for 4 or 5 months, and so I get to see some progression, but I don't get to see how it carries on. But just that appreciation that there is a ripple effect, there is these seeds that are being planted about how do we show up in the world, what is the role of our psychology, what is the role of our thoughts, and how is that shaping our attitudes and our behavior. It becomes very, very interesting because it's we're giving it back to the person. By opening up their awareness, we're giving it back to them to make very clear and conscious choices.
Wow, it sounds like the corporate world's shifted and changed a lot in like the last 10 years. If they're looking at all of this stuff, is pretty amazing. Do you find that you can kind of weave in some elements of wellness and mindfulness, getting them to be more conscious about their choices and how they show up in the world? Is just so from the kind of wellness industry. It's stuff that we're quite used to talking about, but to sort of see that come through in the corporates is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fantastic how things are progressing in the corporate world, and I mean, this is not all the companies, and some companies are taking it, I mean, to levels where I'm blown away. I've got a friend of mine who's a spiritual coach, and she works within the corporate world. So her coaching is all about spirituality. And that blows my mind, because I think it's incredible how far we've come. But then you also have organizations who are perhaps not so much into that yet, and that's okay too, because I think it's one of those things that will evolve and grow. And I have noticed that what excites me the most is that I've really noticed how companies recognizing that the well-being of their people is fundamental to the success of their business. Unless you're working just with technology and you're a one-man person, then you only have to take care of your own well-being. But as soon as there's more people involved, the better we feel, the better we do. When you feel good, you do a good job. You're more engaged. You communicate better. You're more open. You listen better. And those are just, I mean, the most basic of things. And really seeing companies recognizing that. And there is some incredible initiatives companies even have internally, where they don't bring in an external coach like myself, but internal initiatives where they're really ensuring that their people are supported, they have progression, they have fulfillment, they have a sense of belonging, there's a culture within that business. So it also really brings people into, is this an organization that I want to work for? Am I buying into their vision and who they are? Because I mean, I believe that we have moved on from a job just being something that pays the bills. We spend most of our lives at work, and we want something that feels fulfilling, where we feel a purpose. And the organizations that really recognize that and include that within their business, that purpose for the people, that purpose of the product or the service that they provide, are very, very successful because it resonates.
Wow, it's really exciting. It's really cool. So, are they doing things like mindfulness practices and yoga in the workplace, or is this more to do with like specific coaching for key executives? How does it kind of look on the ground?
Well, I mean, personally, I just do the coaching. I do executive coaching and all levels that are required. Um, but there is yoga in the workplace. There is mindfulness in the workplace. There is, I mean, now with the whole COVID situation, a lot of it has shifted online. But the companies have maintained that, where they do group meditations and webinars, and the possibilities are endless. They have people coming in talking about nutrition, talking about mental health first aid. All of these things are things that are part of a business, part of an organization. And I think it needs to be celebrated, because it's also an amazing opportunity for people like us, change workers, to actually open up to the possibility of working in the corporate sector. Because I know, sometimes I on the side, when it so happens, will coach people that are change workers on their business, etc. And often what happens is that, well, the corporate world, that's sort of where I left. I don't want to go back there because it was really stressful and I didn't like it. But actually, you look at it from another perspective, and there is huge value that change workers can add to an organization.
I love that phrase, change workers. I think that's so magical, but also so on the money, isn't it? That's exactly what we're all doing in our grassroots ways, trying to make that little bit of impact and change just for one person or one family or one community, or for you, one organization, and then seeing that kind of ripple out. Listening to you talking about it, I kind of get this sense that the corporates and that kind of culture, it's moved, like you say, it's moving away from turn up to do your job and go home again. It feels much more almost like these cultures that are developing are almost like a tribe in themselves, of people coming together with a shared value system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is such a key element, because if an organization can really embed the values of who they are, and it starts at the top, it starts with the leader. There is no point, at least that's my view and my experience, there's no point in creating values where everyone chips in, because ultimately the person or the handful of people leading the organization, if the values are not based on who they are, it's not going to work and ripple through, because they are not going to embody that with every action and every word they say. And so that is really important, that those people create that value system, that purpose of who are we as individuals, who are we as an organization, what are the people that we want to have in our organization. Obviously there's certain skill sets, etc., but who are they as people, so that it can come together as a whole, and the whole organization, in the way they work, in the way they act, in the way they speak, with their clients, with one another, it aligns. And so then you have momentum that is created, that is all going in the same direction. And through that, the business is really moving forwards very effortlessly because it feels good. There is no one thing is moving that way and the other is moving that way. It's a collective momentum that's being created. And when that happens, I think that's magic. It's not always that easy, because often I think organizations look at the mission, vision, value thing as, okay, yeah, let's do the mission, vision, value thing, chuck it on our website, and off we go. But when you actually really take that as a as the essence, as the core of who we are as people and what the business is about, then it's really, really powerful. It's a powerful force that moves the organization forward and creates a lot of fulfillment and possibility for the people within the organization.
So for some of the perhaps mums or dads that might be running their own businesses, that might be watching this, that might have got stuck on the mission, the vision, and the value element, the kind of thing you learn at the entrepreneur workshop, get that down. So your mission, just to like review the mission, what would you say the mission is, what would you say the vision is, and what would you say the value is, just so that people understand what that is. And then I've got some questions about how to move on from that in a moment.
Okay, so your vision is what you're going to create, is where you are heading, and how that looks, and your mission is interlinked with that, and based on what it is you do as a business or as a freelancer or whatever it is, and what is the service or the product, what's the difference you're making in people's lives. And then the values is really very much based on who you are. What is most important to you? I mean, is that to act with integrity and honesty, or is that to be cutting edge? Or I mean, there's a million different things, but those values come from who you are as a person. You can't separate your life and who you are from who you are in the business. When you bring them together and align them, then it flows. So they all kind of connect to one another, and sort of can form that core of what it is really all about.
So when you've got entrepreneurs, and we've got lots of mums that have come through, say, our classes, and then they've gone on to set up their own little businesses because they're looking for that work-life balance. They want to be, with their families, be able to do the school run and the pickups, and have a successful, meaningful career that fires them up and they feel excited about. So they could have written down their mission and their vision and think about their values and what they're bringing to the table. And like you say, it might go on the website and just be sort of shelved for a bit. What kind of practical things could you suggest to them to help them kind of reignite that connection with their purpose? And are there any little rituals or practices that you could encourage just day to day or month by month to help people stay focused on their vision and their values and their mission, and then what to do to kind of get to that end point?
Yeah, I mean, so I think one of the, probably in my view, one of the most important bits is the values, because that feeds into everything that you do. And a very simple thing to do is, and whether you have your mission, vision, value on your website or you have it written down somewhere, it doesn't really matter. And also the other thing to be aware of is, it can change. Just keep looking over it and allow it to change, because it doesn't have to be set in stone. But those values is just perhaps every now and again looking at them and holding them up against what you do. And in particular, holding them up against what you do when something is tricky. Maybe there's been a tricky customer, or maybe there is a customer that wants a refund and it seems unreasonable, or, whenever there is a tricky situation, look at your values and look at who you are and how you want to conduct your business? What is most important to you? And from there, you will make some really good decisions. So that's one thing I think is really valuable, because it really feeds back into us embodying who we are and who we want to be. The other thing I want to just mention about vision is because there's this idea that we have to have this vision, and then we have to keep this vision like at the forefront of our mind, because if we don't, we're not going to get there, right? There's this idea that you've got to dream big, and then just keep thinking about the dream, and then you just keep working hard, and then you're going to get there. And I think it's absolute bullshit, excuse my language, because it's almost like tangling a sweet in front of someone and going, yeah, it's here, but it's going to be really hard for you to get it, because every time you're going to get close, I'm going to move it a bit. Is what I have found most valuable for my clients when they have big visions and big dreams, and they don't have it doesn't necessarily, when I say big, it doesn't necessarily mean it's some sort of multi-million-pound organization. Big dreams can be to have a sustainable business and have the perfect work-life balance, and to have enough income and enough time, and to do all of the things you want to do. So those are all big dreams in my book. What I have found really valuable is to have a vision, kind of know where you're going. This is the direction I'm heading in. But then don't focus on that. Focus on what's right here in front of you. And focus on what's the next step. That's all you have to think about. You don't need to think about the end game, the end plan. You just have to think about right here, right now. What is the best and most important thing I can do to fulfill what I ultimately want? And through that, again, we create this momentum, but we also stay in appreciation, because when we look too far ahead, we never quite appreciate where we are. So by staying focused on where we are right now and focusing on the next step, we have that sense of appreciation. Again, that creates momentum. We keep going. We are motivated. And we will get there. And that vision might change as we progress, as we move forwards, because, things happen and opportunities come your way. And if we stay so fixed on that, we might not see those opportunities. And they might be just the thing that, helps us get even closer to what we really want.
Wow, it sounds like yoga in action in business. It's really lovely to hear it all. And that lovely quality of being really present and just focusing on appreciating what you've got right now is so important. I kind of find that sometimes I've got so many ideas and so many creative things that I could explore. And I'm sure lots of other women are like this too, because we're generally very creative. That's what we kind of do, have a little conception of an idea and gestate it and then birth it. So how do you suggest to some of us that are kind of entrepreneurs and trying to make headway on our vision, how do you suggest to us to stay focused and aligned and not get distracted with with too many ideas, or just trying to make sure we're achieving one aim, which might be just paying the bills, and that might take us off tangent and away from our alignment? Are there any little tips and techniques that you could suggest?
So in my normal work, I try not to do so many tips and techniques. I try and just help the person in front of me to define that themselves, because I can give you the tips that I have experienced personally and that I have experienced on my clients, but that might not be just the thing for you. But so I'll give you something, but just know that whatever I say, don't believe that blindly. Just listen to what makes sense to you. That's ultimately, the best way to go. But in terms of staying focused on your vision and where you want to go, the most simplest of thing and the most profound I find is to focus on inspired action. And what I mean by that is do what feels good. Do what feels good. When it feels good, you will do it really well. And if that sidetrack feels good right now, because maybe you're stuck in the other thing or you're unsure how to move forwards, then go with that, because that is inspired action. You're still moving. Progression is not one linear path. It goes all over the place. And as you can tell in my story of where I've started, I've been in many places, and I wouldn't want to miss out any of those elements and any of those steps and that learning and that experience. So we don't need to stay linear, but staying focused on what feels good and inspired action is usually the words I use. You can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong. It feels good. And when it feels good, there's momentum. And you
Oh,
move forwards.
I love that. It just really resonates with me because I spend so much time talking to, the pregnant mummies to be and the new mums, and it's all about getting out of your head, getting out of what you think you should do, and just follow your heart and your instincts, and you're going to be right. And it's really lovely to hear you kind of reflect that back to me, but just for, business. It's quite revolutionary in one sense.
Yeah, I think it's I think within sort of the business world, there's often that misunderstanding that we have to wear a different hat. But actually, one of the most powerful and effective and unique things we can bring to business is our intuition. And that is not to say that you don't need skill. You need skills, you need experience. No, you need all of that. A surgeon can't perform heart surgery without having learned how to do that. But when he has all that skill and he does what he does, and he gets a sense that something's not right, most likely he will trust that and he will be right in doing so, and whatever that way that means. And it's the same for all businesses. So staying connected to our intuition is really, really powerful, because that's ultimately where our service, our product, our business, and who we are is unique.
That's really cool. Really cool. Amazing. So if people would love to connect in with you, maybe to find out more, maybe to have their own coaching sessions, where can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me via Facebook or LinkedIn, Kerstin Andlaw. They can also check out my website, which is www.kerstinandlaw.com. And my other website is auxiliumctc.com, which is, again, more towards the corporate side. So yeah, any way they want to reach out, send me a message, and I'm always happy to chat, always happy to support people if they need some direction. So yeah.
Amazing. Oh, Kerstin, it's been so interesting to talk to you. I've made some notes. I'm going to go and have a think about what I'm doing in my life and in my business. So it was really helpful. I'll make sure I put all of that in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today. That's been amazing.
No, thank you. It's been really, really lovely to chat to you. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Hopefully you'll come back again soon and give us the next installment.
Happy to.
Thank you so much, Kerstin. I'll just wrap up and then I'll finish the chat with you in a sec.
Cool,
So everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. I'll be back soon with some more inspiring guests, and hopefully they'll help you go out there and help make the world a better place. Thank you. Bye.